So the second part, after this queer social life and holidays, we're gonna be talking about, how people make you feel. Um, like I've talked about this before, how I'm kind of like negative. I know that. I'm pretty pessimistic. Um, it's definitely because things aren't really going smoothly my way, and with the health and physical issues that were going on this year, those definitely took a toll on my ability to work properly and do a bunch of stuff. But things are definitely looking up from that direction. I'm not 100% yet because the reason why I say I'm not is because I'm waiting to see if anything um, returns as far as like symptom related stuff that has improved. I just want to give it like a few weeks and see if anything is like, okay, here it comes again, kind of thing. But if that doesn't happen, then I would say that things are mostly back to normal, hopefully, or at least closer to normal than what they were. Um, but one thing I've noticed is, you know, since summer and the more I've been trying to meet people, even though I haven't met a whole lot of new people, but the more I've tried to meet people, I've noticed, it's nice to be around positive people. Um, People who are positive about like socializing and like that kind of thing. Now, maybe not overly. I used to have a friend. I mean, it's like a friend of the family. We don't really hang out anymore, but I'm not like against this person. Um, it's just, yeah, I'm not against them. We just don't really make a lot of plans. That's all it really is. Um, but yeah, uh, I don't really know. um, you know, that that friend used to kind of go out a lot. Like, you know, they they'd go surfing and go to the gym, play basketball, go watch a movie. They'd go do a whole bunch of stuff on their days off. And they were in nursing, so they had a lot of different kind of days available. Um, but yeah, they did a lot for their days off, and it was a little hard to keep up with. I'd get a little stressed. I'd be like, dude, I just like after like the second event in one day, it's like, okay, like we did like two things, like I'm kind of done. like, but they'd want to just keep doing different stuff. And this was like back when nothing was like super pricey. All of us lived at home, but we're working, so it was like we had money, but not a whole lot of expenses. Um, but yeah, it was just kind of funny. Um, but yeah, like the people you spend time with, or interact with, or socialize with, or catch up with, makes a difference. Like, I kind of don't want to be the person that people catch up with that's, negative all the time. I mean, of course, everybody has like negative times in their life. I'm not saying they shouldn't. I'm not saying that being negative is bad all the time or whatever. Like, it kind of gives you like an idea of where somebody is. But like, even when we went to New Orleans, like, and we were taking an Uber from the hotel back to the airport and about to leave, like on our way out, and I remember saying, everyone's so nice, and my dad's kind of like, he's always negative, and like the only comment he kind of made to me pretty much for the whole trip was that he's well, actually, I think because we went to some place that had like some haunted history or something, and we were eating there, and I kind of told him about the flyer, that it was on the flyer, and he seemed kind of interested in that. But other than that, that was the only other thing I really said to him, or said in general in the van, was like, was mentioning that, um, that we're, that people were nice, and he was just like, kind of making the comment like, how can you say that people are nice? You've barely been here, like barely a day or whatever. And I was kind of like, well, people are polite, more than in LA. Like when you see people in LA who graduate, and they're walking across the street with their gowns and stuff, people aren't like cheering for you from their cars, and like even if it's people you don't know. Like my sister went to school online, and there were a bunch of people just like cheering and happy, and they were really excited, just like strangers. People were saying congratulations. you know um, Now I know, it was like a smaller region where we were able to walk around. She wasn't the only one with a gown on, but in LA it's like you have thousands of students graduating, and you can be walking from the university to, say, if you parked off campus, or walking to like a restaurant with your family. You're not going to see a bunch of people like cheering from their cars, or like honking cheering, or like saying congratulations, and like maybe the waiter, maybe like staff at different places might say something, but the general public just leaves it alone. You're not really going to be running into a whole lot of people that are like enthusiastic and stuff. Like people just kind of keep to themselves, and I kind of did like that. There was that hospitality. Even though I wasn't there for long, I did notice, like, even the concierge was really nice, and kind of like recommended some places when I was like waiting for like almost 2 hours for my parents. And they were just like, yeah, you've been sitting here a while, like there's some spots, check out this coffee shop, check out this or that. And they were kind of telling me some stuff to check out, and I was like into that. I was like, oh, okay, cool, let's, like, like, I kind of wanted to know more. I had to sleep because, so I didn't go out that Saturday night with my sister and her boyfriend, but like I really wanted to, but I hadn't really slept, and I was having some other issues going on too, so I just didn't really sleep. But I was like, I'd rather sleep tonight than go out. So I actually just stayed in the hotel and went to bed, like a boring old person. But I really had to, though, because Friday we were at the airport till like 2-3 a.m. and then I couldn't sleep by the time we got there. And there's that time change too, and then we woke up and we went to 2 graduations on Saturday. So after that, I was really not, and one of them was in the really hot sun in the month of May in New Orleans, so it was super hot. And it was like the end of May, like the last week of May, and so it was super hot. And we were at a stadium for the second one, sitting outside in the heat. So I just, was not really into that, and it was too much for me. But, after being barely, having any energy for that day, and then it was just really tiring. It was fun, but it was just, I don't do good with sleep deprivation, but the food was good. Everybody almost, I mean, one of the waiters was kind of not a good waiter. They were either drunk or on something or acting really weird. And then, so one of the waiters wasn't that good. And then there was someone at the hotel that was like in line in front of us trying to check in, or had some complaint about something when we got there at like 2 or 3 in the morning. And so those were the only experiences that I saw that were maybe not good. And then there was someone when we were leaving that was in the security line behind us who was like, he was kind of getting like super close behind me, and like you could kind of tell he had like this nervous energy. But I overheard him saying, "Oh, he's about to miss his flight." And I don't know if my dad or someone else said, why don't you go and just like ask them at the front if you can just cut through the line. Like it doesn't hurt to ask, because we'll save your place, and just try to cut through the line, because at least you'll be able to try to make your flight, versus like don't ask. You're never gonna know if they say yes or no. If they say no, okay, that sucks, you'll miss your flight, but at least if they say no, you'll know for sure, versus like taking a chance. And so, he went and took the chance, and I think they let him skip the line. And I just like that there was music everywhere. Even in the airport, they had like live musicians, and it was cool. I was into that, but I don't know. Like it wasn't like a negative experience. I didn't think of it as like a negative experience. Just I was tired, but yeah, it definitely helps, when you're around people who are positive, people who are having fun, people who want to be where they're at, people who are enjoying themselves, um, and I'm kind of noticing that, talking to new people, I'm kind of noticing, like, how pessimistic I get about stuff. I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of always complaining about things, but, I'm working on it. I just, I do think there is such a thing as toxic positivity. I mean, negativity too, but I mean, that's kind of more obvious. But there is such a thing as toxic positivity. Um, and, one of my friends is the one who told me about that. They were saying that one of their family members is kind of like toxically positive, like they always like think of like the good side of things, and like it can be pretty invalidating, and I don't think I told that friend, but I was kind of like, oh yeah, like um you know I I think I grew up more around like toxic negativity, not toxic positivity. you know um like one parent's really negative, and then the other one's like super positive, most of the time super positive, but also kind of like a homebody and not really too social. So it's kind of like, even though they're positive, it's not really, they just don't like to socialize too much, and I'm kind of like, I'd rather socialize. Even if the people I'm around aren't positive all the time. Like, I don't feel like they need to be positive all the time, just positive enough that it's not like a downer to like hang out with them. um but I don't know, I kind of enjoy spending time with, you know with people. I just had to kind of remind myself this morning, that I do miss a lot of my friends, and yeah, it is going to take some energy, and maybe it's just today's energy because I slept a little less than 7 hours last night. Woke up once in the night, so I'm probably a little tired, which is why I don't feel like doing anything. Um, and that's how I feel about things today. But it's like tomorrow, I don't think I'm gonna feel that same way. So, or any of the other, it kind of just depends. And it's these energy drinks. I already know. I already said I was staying away from them, and then I went back on it because I wasn't working out as much or as heavily, and so I went back on them a little bit. I've had more caffeine in the last few days than I have in the last few weeks, but it's affecting my sleep, and that's kind of affecting my mood, so I need to be careful with it. I already know, so I'm gonna dial it back. And you know. Um, but yeah, like paying attention to how people make you feel, you know, because I don't think people notice. Like, I feel like I don't really notice how I am, but sometimes, like, when I reflect on things, I'm like, okay, when I was out with these people, I didn't say one positive thing. I was just complaining the whole time. Or, like, you know, not complaining, like, trying to drag everyone down, but kind of, like, pessimistic, just kind of, like, pointing out the things that are maybe, like, oh, the food's taking too long, or like, oh, like, you know, why this or why that, you know, like, just pointing out things that aren't too, you know, positive, but, yeah, just pointing out a bunch of stuff that's not, like, way too positive. I was definitely, you know, pointing out things, picking at things, not at people. Like, I wasn't saying, like, this person is wrong and that person, I'm annoyed. It wasn't like that. It was just kind of like maybe like a general attitude I was having. And when I think about it, I'm like, yeah, I need to kind of be careful with that. Because it's not a well-rounded picture of how I think. I don't really only think negatively. I actually think positively about a lot of things. But I need to kind of figure out like what that looks like really. But yeah, I do feel, you know, more positive about a lot of things. But you know, I think I do want to put that more into practice, you know, just making sure, you know, I'm trying to like retrain my brain. But I kind of noticed it more when I was like talking to somebody that I don't usually talk to, and I was like, oh, this person's really kind of nice to talk to, and like they have like a professional life that's really good, and they kind of make me feel like motivated that I want to kind of do better with stuff. Some stuff, not, yeah, but I hadn't really been feeling that way in a while, and I was like, it's literally just because of somebody that I was recently, you know, getting reacquainted with, and I wasn't feeling that way before. So, you know, it just goes to show, you know, like it's one thing living in a house with someone who's, you know, retired, you know, has goals, like, but not really like career path goals, and has passed through a lot of different phases in life with things, and they're kind of like not really into working on the same stuff because they've already done that. And then talking to other friends, you know, um, yeah, like it's, uh, um, yeah, that's kind of, you know, the only thing that, you know, it really stuck out. I was kind of like, wow, this really does make a difference, you know, talking to somebody who's really kind of, you know, into connections with people. Um, you know, definitely looking at the positive light of things. I really don't know a lot of people like that. Most of the people I talk to, everybody's kind of like in a negative mood, not having a good day, never having a good time, never having enough money, just kind of unhappy people. But also a lot of people I know don't financially have things going the way they want in Southern California. And so, you know, that definitely takes a toll when people can't just like do what they want because the money is not there. Um, I came across this post on Instagram where it was saying, you know, um, that there are certain states. There are a lot of states. Most of the states that Los Angeles County in general has more, um, has a bigger population than a lot of states, full states. Like, and it had just like a few states like Florida, Texas, New York, some East Coast states, um, where there were like, where that wasn't the issue, where Los Angeles had more. There was just a handful of states where Los Angeles didn't have more people than those states that were listed. And yeah, I was like surprised. I was like, wow. And they were saying how like how, you know, I guess it was like a whole thing to say that like there's an importance of the economy in Los Angeles because it really does affect a lot of the United States. I mean, it is a really big city, you know, and it's even getting more populated. I feel like it's getting more populated. That's my, just like from getting out and about here and there, I kind of feel that it's more populated now than what it was even a year or two ago. Um, there's a lot more immigration, there's a lot more people coming in, and there are people that have left, but I feel like it's a sanctuary city, you know, people are coming here. I'm not commenting on that in detail, but I'm just saying, you know, people are coming here, and it's a very expensive place to live and be. And the people who have been here, you know, a lot of us who grew up here, I feel like, you know, when people were gonna, you know, when we were in our teens and 20s, we probably weren't thinking our 30s, 40s, 50s were gonna look like they do now. Like, everyone was probably thinking, oh, I'm gonna have a house, I'm gonna have a nice car, I'm gonna be, you know, having a partner and married and stuff. And most people I know, that's not the case, you know. And I think it's wearing on a lot of people. It wears on me, you know, and, you know, but I really think, you know, if that's the reality of it, you know, then, you know, those of us who, you know, if we've got all of our basics kind of handled, we should still be grateful, you know, because there's, you know, it's a nice place to live. Most of us live here because we want to live here. We don't want to live somewhere else. Um, I've got friends in a bunch of different states that I don't want to live in any of those states. I don't care if if I could buy a house for the price of monthly rent of an apartment out here. I, you know, as much as I would like that, it's like, well, I like my life out here. You know, I like my social life. I like my friends. You know, I like the stuff that there is to do. Even when I'm by myself, I can go to the pier, go out and do stuff. You know, I find LA to be a friendly environment. There's definitely other sides to things, but just because there's so much variety of types of people, I feel like it's almost not possible if you're trying to socialize and meet people. It's almost not possible to like not meet somebody. Does that make sense? Like, I feel like if you try, it's gonna work. You know, if you try to meet people, it's probably gonna work out. Um, you really just have to keep at it. But I don't know if other states are like that or other places. You know, but I think attitude works. Attitude helps. You know, it's nice to hear from people. You know, I've heard from a few friends, and it's been nice to hear from people. Um, People that I want to hear from. uh, but yeah, like a lot of my motivation financially comes from like a social, you know, social opportunity aspect. It's like, well, I can't really do anything socially um, without quite a bit of cash to use for that. So Um, and that's kind of where I'm at with stuff. But yeah, just it does make a difference who you're interacting with, what they're like. It definitely makes a difference. Like if you're feeling like your motivation's pretty low and it's not really obvious, it's not coming from like some obvious place. Because I know how hard it is to get out of the negativity in your own head, but sometimes it just helps to be around other people and not have that negativity. But I don't know. It's not possible for people to always be available if you want them available, or for them to always be like free just because you need them. And it's good to pay attention to like how much is being unloaded onto people. You know, it's good to not really unload things onto people. You know, it's good to get like professional, like maybe like a professional person involved if it's getting to that point where there's just like an overwhelming amount of things to vent about all the time. And I think it's fine to share with friends though, and like share things. But yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. Just no, I don't really have a lot of clear ideas around it. It's just something I was noticing. I was like, oh, like that's all it really takes is like talking to somebody who's motivating, and then I definitely feel a lot more motivated and a lot better about a lot of things. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but today I'll be over at the coffee shop for lunch, and then other than that, I'm gonna um, get some work done. I don't know if I'll really get a lot of work done while I'm at the coffee shop, because I might be just like catching up with friends, but I've got some friends coming into town too, so that's to stay with their parents who live in the same area of the city. So that's gonna be fun to kind of catch up with everybody. Um, but yeah, it makes a difference. It makes a difference. And I know nobody wants to feel like isolated for holidays. One of my old youth pastors mentioned that he's trying to teach he kind of teaches teens through the church, and he was saying that there's this he's teaching them about love and community, and I guess there was some place where the church, I don't know, I didn't read the whole thing in detail, but there was some aspect where they found a church, or maybe it was their church, that were providing connections of people, like, okay, this person has no place to go, let's see if they can get it, if there's certain people who are inviting people, or like if there's some community events, and they were connecting people. And he kind of had this question, this youth pastor guy kind of had this question saying, like, should it be up to churches to make a social environment for people in their congregations that don't really have anywhere to go? Like, should they provide that as a resource to kind of get people connected? Not that the church needs to like host an event necessarily, but should they make sure that people aren't alone for the holidays? if they don't want to be. Not necessarily like the pastor inviting them all over or something, but just connecting them, like getting them connected to resources should they, and like, should they be obligated? I don't know if they should be obligated. I don't really know what I think about that yet, because it's like, I do like the idea of churches needing to be accountable for people, and their well-being. I just feel like they don't always do that. Their focus seems to be more like getting people in the seats who are tithe payers, who, have like numbers added to the congregation and money coming in for the church for funding and stuff like that, and to the conferences that like run these organizations and stuff, like however that looks. But I don't really think um I don't really think um mm, yeah, I don't know what I really think about that. Because I do know a few people that maybe don't always have family around to do stuff with, and I don't have a place where I can invite them either, so it's like, it would be nice, but I don't know. I guess we'll see. um and I guess, like, yeah, that's just kind of how things are. But all right, I'm kind of rambling and ran out of things to say, so that'll be the end of this. So we'll get a double episode in today. If I don't post for the holidays, have great holidays, everybody.